Welcome to the Black and Green Podcast. It's your go-to place to find the latest high-quality, all-natural products created by Black artisans. Hosted by yours truly, Dr. Kristian H, the founder of Black and Green. We'll discuss all things health, wellness, self-care, and of course, self-love. This podcast features a refreshing lineup of guests, from entrepreneurs and artisans to holistic lifestylists and clean beauty experts, and a plethora of other innovators within the wellness industry. Join me as we learn from the best of the best. Welcome back to the Black and Green Podcast. We're so excited to have another artisan spotlight with us today. Now, my very first question, I have been dying to ask this: how do you pronounce the name of your brand?
So, hi everybody. Hi Black and Green audience. This is Kimba, the natural diva, and it is called Kushae. So that's how you pronounce it. Now, hopefully it's reminiscent of something, but we'll dive into that in a minute.
Yes. So me and my team have been going back and forth like, I think we know what that word is. We aren't quite sure.
Did you get it right or did you fudge it up? Like, what happened?
We might have fudged it just a little bit.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay. No worries. And that's where we're here for all of that. We are here for all of that. So
yes.
We'll have to tell you how we came up with the name, and I think that'll help you.
Let's go ahead. Tell me how you came up with the name.
So again, Dr. Barb is here as well, so I'm sure she'll chime in. But we wanted to make sure that the brand was very clearly indicative of what it was for. Right? There are so many brands out there that are using pseudonym names for a woman's intimate parts. And we said we want to make it a little bit loud and proud, but we have to be sure that we're really classy about it because that's just who we are. And so, of course, I threw out the word coochie in a brainstorm session. I was like, let's just throw up names on the board of what women call it anyway. So, of course, it was pocketbook and flower and coochie and vajayjay and all that. And then we said, how can we make any one of these words classy and refined and very ladylike? And not that the others aren't, but just, a little bit more made for TV, right? And it was Dr. Barb, who said, let's kind of do like what people do with Target and the way that they call it Target. Maybe we can take coochie and make it Kushae. And I was like, I love it. And so with just us going back and forth, and of course I was like, well, it needs to start with a K since my name starts with a K. No, I'm kidding. I don't even know how the K came up, but it was a total remix. We didn't want to keep the C, wanted to make it a K, Frenchify it is what we called it. And that's how the name Kushae was born. And thank God we Googled it. And we got literally 2 pages of Google hits when we first Googled it. We're like, nobody owns this. We've got to grab it. So the domain was free. Nobody else had that name. It wasn't registered anywhere. So we really, really, really got lucky because, as you know, that's a difficult piece. To come up with something that nobody else has ever come up with is very difficult these days. So we got really lucky. Very difficult. Yeah, we got really lucky. So here we are. And of course, it's registered trademark now, so nobody can touch it. Yes. So that's where we are.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a big deal because we were like, we have to protect it. Yeah. So here we are.
So tell me, what made you come up with the product line and kind of what is the goal? What problem are you trying to solve?
So I think the main goal, and I'll have Dr. Barb jump in a minute, but I think the main goal for us was sort of twofold. So, and we're probably going to talk about how we met and all that good stuff, but, Dr. Barb's a board certified OBGYN. And so she's been, around Kushaes her whole entire life. So Kushae, funny enough, is the name of the product, but we also refer to a lady's intimate parts as her Kushae, right? So kind of is a little bit of does double duty there.
I love it.
And so feminine health and Kushaes in general have always been something that's been important to Dr. Barb in her professional career. And then from my side, just as a sort of a naturally green, woman of color, from cloth diapering my own babies and making my own baby food and just greening my whole household, it was important to me that coming outside of the pharmaceutical industry, that we created something that women could truly have as their own and could truly benefit not only their Kushaes, but their overall health. Because we find that there are many, many things out in the market that are not doing that and are specifically what I would consider attacking a woman's very, very vulnerable area and really not concerned about their health as much as, their organization's wealth. And that was the big deal for us. So it was kind of combining, her passion and my passion around what do we do to protect women from the big bad industry that's already out there, and how do we make a true difference, and then leave a legacy behind. And that's how Kushae kind of came came to fruition. But the true story about how we met is like where it all happened, because we didn't even know each other until about 3 years ago. And we became business partners before we even became friends. And I think, for everybody out there, that's probably the better way to do it, because then you don't hate your friend if you guys don't get along and you're arguing about names and stuff. But, so yeah, we met on a girls' trip and kind of went from there. So we'll get into that in a bit. So anyway, that's that.
Oh, wow. That's so exciting. I have so many questions. Okay. So let me say where I want to start. You mentioned kind of how organizations will be more worried about creating wealth and instead of like their health, and how there's oftentimes some of the products that are kind of mainstream can even be like attacking a woman in a way. Can you like dive into that? Like, what ingredients should we be worried about? What products are detrimental? I find that when you're in the space, you kind of know all of this like the back of your hand, but a lot of our listeners may not even understand to what extent they need to be careful about the products that they're using.
Sure.
You mentioned how a lot of the personal care products that are specifically for the vagina, or the Kushae, which I might start saying now. Thank you.
Yes, you need to. Everybody needs to, especially if you don't have a name for it. And there are women who don't have a name for it. We'll talk about that.
Exactly. So how those products are kind of like attacking us in a way. Can you talk about that? Like, a lot of people don't know what that means, and what products are you talking about, and what ingredients, like what is the problem here?
Okay, so here's the problem. So first of all, it's funny that when we developed this product line, we were just coming off of the big lawsuit that had just happened with Johnson & Johnson around their talc powder, right? And maybe you're familiar with that. So there are millions and millions of dollars of lawsuits currently happening right now against Johnson & Johnson for women who have developed ovarian cancer as a result of using talcum powder, just regular old baby powder, specifically on their couches for years and years and years. And it's funny that, women used powder like it was nothing. I mean, we've used it on our babies for God's sake. So we used it on our necks, under our breasts, on our couches to do what? To keep dry, right? And to freshen up. That was kind of what the powder was doing. And interestingly enough, it was not that we developed over the years, neck cancer or chest cancer. It was specifically ovarian cancer, which is very, 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 makes it very clear. So I think me and everybody else in the community that sure enough, there is a link to whatever it is, ingredients that you're putting down there that can certainly be sucked into your bloodstream and cause you either benefit or harm. And obviously something like talcum powder caused serious harm to the point where women were losing their lives. And come to find out, and again, you all can search this up if you'd like, but ends up that through litigation, it was found that Johnson & Johnson was very aware of the link and didn't say anything. And that's scary to me. And that's kind of what I'm talking about when I say personal attack, is that what this could potentially do to women, and yet you don't care. And that's a problem. That is absolutely a problem. I mean, they have scientific evidence that there was a link, and continue to sell their powder, and not only to women, but for use for babies. And that's very scary to me. And one of the things that we've always wanted to do is be a voice for women. I mean, Dr. Barb does that every single day. And coming out of the pharmaceutical industry, I just know so much about the good, the bad, the ugly, about things that you do for your body, put on your body, put in your body. And people really need to advocate, specifically because Black women are still disparately treated when it comes to healthcare, regardless of income. I mean, it goes across all segments. I don't care how rich you are, how poor we are. Black women still do not get the level of healthcare.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your education. It doesn't matter your insurance.
Absolutely.
Nothing is protective.
Nothing is protected. So Kushae is not necessarily just for Black women. I want to be really clear about that. We're just for all Kushaes. But as Black women ourselves, we created our YouTube channel as a result of understanding that we have to really kind of hold our Black women in a special place and say that we talk the language and we say the same things that you guys are saying, baby girl and boo and things like that. We know you, we are you, we love you, we're here for you. So regardless of which Kushaes we're here for, obviously we have a very special place in our heart for Black women, because we are one of them, right?
Right, yes. Now you're speaking to the choir here. We are very unapologetic about centering Black women.
Right.
And when we started Black and Green, we got a little bit of pushback of people saying, well, should you do that? And you're going to limit your market. And I think now in the wake of you guys, we kind of talked about our trademark battle with Black Opal.
Sure.
I find it interesting how these large corporations have zero problem targeting Black women, yet they tell Black women that are trying to create businesses that you won't be successful doing the same thing.
Right.
So
it's mind-boggling because it's
mind-boggling.
It's too much of a niche, and yet don't even get me started on the hair industry. Right, same thing. Yes. My goodness, they don't care if it's plastic or real hair. They're like, oh, that's our target, but good luck with what you're doing. We're like, are you serious right now?
Exactly. So I always encourage people that it's okay to be niche and they actually encourage you to. It's like marketing 101 to find your market to be as specific as possible. But
Absolutely.
anyways, that's off on a tangent. I wanted to talk a little bit. You talked about in the pharmaceutical industry, and you talked about kind of greening your life. What was sort of the pivotal moment that made you green your life and kind of try to find, live a more green, holistic lifestyle? Kind of what was that turning point, and what were some of the things that you did in that vein?
Right. So, I think there were a couple of things that happened. So I'm originally first of all, my family's from the Caribbean, and Dr. Barb is of Caribbean descent as well. So just from our own origins and who we are, our families have always been into just, natural herbals, and my mom will pick a bush and brew a tea in a minute, so we're used to that just growing up, right? You didn't just have mint tea in the morning. So I'm Jamaican. That was a thing for Jamaicans. It was like, no, we're going to go get the mint leaves and we're going to boil those, and, none of this bag business. So I was used to that growing up. As you grow up and you get older and you think you're getting wiser, you depart from many of the ways that you started. So it wasn't until I started within the pharmaceutical industry about 15 years ago or so. And, just day after day after day, I'm walking into doctor's office, I'm walking into hospitals, and I specialize in typically cardiovascular stuff. So this is stuff that's people are like, either your heart's going to stop or it's not. Like, you need these drugs. It's almost too late for you to even be preventative at that point. I just really almost got sick and tired of watching people who were sick and sicker, and I said, I cannot live the way that these people have ended up, unfortunately. Whereas there is something I know that you can do to be more preventative than to be more, reactive around your health. And just after several years of doing that, I was just like, I believe in products that will help people when they're towards the end, but I need to make sure that both me and my family don't even get there as much as we can, right? So whatever I can to do and be as green as I can, that's what I need to be doing. Because then it's like, okay, I did the best that I could. It's not that I just sat here and did nothing, because I see what comes, what can be, right? So I'm like, oh no, that's the end. I'm
not trying to go there. Right.
Like that way.
I worked at Johns Hopkins Hospital for about 6 years, and I had the exact same experience that you've had. And I find it interesting that it's people who have experience in the healthcare sector and the healthcare delivery. We tend to see it and like, oh my gosh, I've seen the other side. Like, I've seen behind the curtain. Right. I have to take more control over my own health. Right. Absolutely. And there are ways to do that. And the industry, some years ago didn't necessarily make it easy. I mean, natural and green was like, something passe. It was like, what do you mean natural and green, right? Right. Or it was something that we thought was for rich white women, to be honest. Yeah, granola women in California. That's how I was like hippie women in California, like hugging on trees, and shout out to the hippies. But it didn't pervade into specifically the Black community, right? No. And then of course you always hear about unfortunately Black women and the things that plague us the most. And part of it being we're taking care of everybody else but ourselves. And then when it comes to ourselves, A, we don't have the access. B, sometimes we don't have the information, the understanding. And then C, sometimes we don't have the dollars, because it's a little bit more costly sometimes to live a more natural, holistic lifestyle, which is, it's difficult because it's easier to pick up a burger from a fast food restaurant than it is to get something healthy and wholesome. So just the conversation from the bottom up just has to change. And we're just happy to be a part of that, Now we will pause for a moment of meditation with Dr. Crystal Jones.
So whether you're listening to this podcast as you're walking down the street or in your car, in your home or in your bed, just want you to find a comfortable position where you can relax and take focus on what's happening right now. And as we do this, I want you to focus on your breath. focusing on the fact that your answers are always in your breath. Feeling your breath, not judging it, but experiencing what it feels like. If you're able to, you can close your eyes. If not, just keep your focus. Notice where your breath is racing through. Where are you trying to meet so many deadlines in life? Notice where your breath is moving in the same cycle or feeling stuck. Where are you in destructive cycles in life? Where are you not changing the script, but only changing the characters in the play? Just take a moment and notice what your breath feels like and how it relates to your life. Deep breath in. And as you exhale, let everything go that's not serving you. Reminding yourself that you can keep anything that you want to keep. You can let go of anything you want to let go of. But honoring your truth in this breath. As you're breathing in, you're creating. As you're breathing out, you're creating space for what it is that you desire. Little by little, letting go of what's not serving you. And honoring the spaces that ask you to hold on at this moment. Taking your time and being present. Continuing this breath until you feel like you've let go of everything that's standing in the way of creating what you desire. And as you feel like you've let everything go, bring the awareness back into your body, back into the space of wholeness, come back into the space of truth, and move forward, knowing that you're whole always, and that you are the one that you've been looking for.
So talk to me about your product line. How did you create it? What makes it special?
What? So that is, and I haven't forgotten. And I'll kind of weave this in. I know that you were looking for the ingredients. So I will part of what I'll talk about is the ingredients that we don't have in our product and that women need to really be kind of cognizant of. So once Kushae was born, we decided that we wanted nothing but all natural ingredients. And that's difficult to get because we have a lot of manufacturers that we had to hire and then fire because they wanted to do tricky stuff, underhanded stuff, not so natural stuff. And we were adamant about making sure that our brand stayed true to mission, which was, all natural care for down there. That's our slogan. And we just recently trademarked that. So we're super excited about it. And so when we developed the line, Dr. Barb was critically instrumental in coming up with specific products that addressed everyday health and maintenance concerns for women. Because she's seen thousands of women and delivered even, thousands more babies. She understands what women are coming in every day and asking questions around that don't necessarily need medication treatment. So it's like, instead of me giving you an antibiotic or something else, I can suggest that you balance your pH. I can suggest that you, keep this area clean, fresh, and dry. I can suggest that you do other things that perhaps you'd find in your kitchen or your garden besides giving you medication and kind of inundating your system unnecessarily. And so that's what we started doing. We said, how can we create, what products, what are the issues, what are the challenges, and then which products are necessary? And that's how we developed each of the products, including our one of our number one products, which is our Gentle Tune and Foaming Wash, which certainly rivals any of them out there on the market. And I know we have some sister artisans in that space, and there's love for everybody. There's room for everybody. But certainly I'm biased, and we feel like ours is number one. Then there is the Kushae Feminine Deodorant Spray, which is actually one of our top sellers. And it provides 24-hour odor protection for sweat, sweat-induced odors for down there. So it's specifically for your Kushae, which is something that doesn't even exist on the market. And this is a product that has no perfumes, so we're not covering anything up. We're literally getting to the problem of preventing bacteria from causing odors in the first place. It is phenomenal. It's innovative. It's amazing. The next two products, one is the Soothing Cream, and that's specifically for sort of post-shave, post-waxing, and post-laser treatments. So it is an amazing mix of creamy and fluffy and buttery lotion that provides a calming and soothing effect after your skin has really been sort of traumatized from waxing, shaving, or otherwise. And then our final product is like nothing you've ever seen. It's really an amazing balm product. It's the Protective Skin Balm, and it is a universal ointment, is what we call it. Women have used this particular balm. It's kind of like a diaper rash cream in that it prevents friction and moisture from really irritating and further aggravating your skin. So our heavier women who have issues with thighs that rub together and causing friction and their skin just can't rest, you use the balm for that. Women who are having skin that thins out after menopause and they're looking for extra moisture and non-friction there, they're using the balm for that. We've got women who are like, my breasts sweat all day underneath, I don't know what to do with it. We're using the balm for that. And it has proven to be just as beneficial in all areas, if not more. So those are the top four products. Those are the four products in our SKUs right now. And we're so excited about them. And women all over are loving them, every one of them.
Oh, that's really amazing.
Yeah.
So you said that you're going to kind of talk about ingredients that you did not kind of include. I'm really interested in kind of hearing that process, and how did you decide what natural meant for you?
Right. So we knew that there is a lot of scientific research right now that sort of names what we call the dirty dozen. And it's about 12 ingredients that have been identified by the National Institutes of Health, by the Breast Cancer Foundation, and by Harvard Medical School as having very clinically relevant or scientific links to dangerous outcomes for women, including cancer, including amputation, including severe bacterial infections, of course, toxic shock syndrome and the like. So we absolutely could not have any of the dirty dozen. And that includes parabens. People have heard about parabens. It includes sulfates, which we, of course, none of this is what we have. Dioxin, which is a byproduct of bleach. You talk about any artificial colors. Any artificial colors have been linked to dangerous outcome for women. PEGs, so PEGs, which is, I don't even know how many letters are in the real word, but they shorten it to PEG because they can't spell it out.
Right.
Yeah, such a chemical ingredient that's super dangerous. Phthalates, triclosan, which is typically used in deodorant products and things like that. Propylene glycol, DEAs, benzoyl peroxide. So those are some of the dirty dozen ingredients that are you can look those up now and they get really nasty grades. And then kudos to Black and Green, because I know you all use the EWG website, which is a nice way of kind of checking out ingredients to see, how dangerous they are on a scale from 1 to 10. And we went through that as well and said nothing that we use can be anything less than, beneficial for our women. So we went back to the garden, we went back to the kitchen, and we pulled out things like, pomegranate extract. We even have garlic extract in some of our ingredients, but again, things that you would find in your garden, your kitchen. We've got sea buckthorn oil, aloe vera, grapeseed oil, hemp seed oil. I mean, you name it, the list goes on and on. Sunflower seed oil, safflower seed oil, but they are things that you can identify, that you can pronounce, and that you can literally probably eat, right? And so that's the other thing. If you can't put it in your mouth, it probably doesn't belong on your skin. And crazy enough, I have, for the naysayers, we were doing a demonstration. They're like, is it really natural? And I was like, oh, you don't think it's natural? And I literally licked one of the products, it was the soap, licked the soap. And I was like, it doesn't taste great because it's not meant to be, but I'm not worried and I'm not afraid, right? Because I know of everything that's in here. And so you know that you can trust our ingredients. And we are huge believers in manufacturing transparency. So we know that there are some manufacturers who are not being honest about what's on their label, but every single ingredient that is in our products is listed on our labels so that people know what they're getting themselves into, what they're putting on their skin, and certainly to avoid any allergens. And so we are all about transparency. So, that's another thing. You got to find out people are being honest. And most times you won't even know that. It's a big deal. Right.
It's really hard because you think that you can trust and people cut corners.
Oh, absolutely. Every single time. Why? Because it's cheaper to do it that way. Right.
Yeah.
So, here we are. But again, we are adamant and we will not. And again, Dr. Barb, she's putting her medical license on the line, being the face of this company and saying that as an OBGYN with a license that can certainly be taken away if I'm up to something crazy. I put my name behind this. I put my credentials behind this. I put my professional expertise behind this. And we are the only doctor-formulated and certainly DIVA approved feminine hygiene system. So we are super proud of that. There are many competitors in this space, but no one has entire system for women and for all their feminine maintenance needs.
So let's talk a little bit about, I'm really loving this word, Kushae.
Yeah.
Can we talk about like douching and washing your Kushae, and how a lot of women you hear, oh, they're either two sides of one coin. Either, you know, the Kushae is a self-cleaning system. Right. You don't need soaps. You don't need to cleanse it. You just let the water do its thing. Girl. And then you have the other side, which is like, I'm using a douche and that's it. And I think for a lot of people, they feel like it's either nothing or the douche. Right. And so can you kind of help us understand, do you need a cleanser? Why do you need a cleanser? How does that all fit together?
Oh, you know what? That's a great question, because we get that all the time. And I'd have to say that there are, like you said, sort of three schools of thought. It's either I'm just doing water because I don't trust anything, which is great. At least you know not to really trust anything until now, right? So Kushae might be an option for you. Then there's the, well, I douche and that should be okay because it's and that's what I'm doing to clean it, and that's absolutely a no-no. And then there's the whole, it cleans itself, so I make some old, I don't know, maybe a concoction, or I just try to figure it out. And so let's
just eat pineapples.
Right. I just and it'll be juicy and sweet, just like the pineapple. I'm like, exactly. You need to do a little bit more to help it out. So here's the deal with water. So the issue, first of all, the issue around the Kushae is that it is the happiest that it can ever be when it is balanced, pH balanced specifically. And the window along the pH scale that allows it to be balanced is very, very small. And so when you throw it off a kilter, first of all, it's easy to do that because you're trying to keep it within this tiny little window between about 3.5 to about 4.5 or up to 5. So you've got maybe like 2 points on the pH scale that you can keep it nice. If you go too low, it's angry. If you go too high, it's pissed off. So your Kushae is like, I'm running the show and I'll tell you when I'm mad and when I'm not. So it's really important to kind of keep her happy. At least it is to me. Absolutely. So the idea is that you have to, or not have to, you don't have to do anything. But what you should do is protect your Kushae by keeping it balanced. Because what happens when it's not balanced is that you increase the bad bacteria. So that leads to bacterial infection, which is where some women are having a recurrence of bacterial vaginosis. So BV plagues women a lot. And those who are having it time and time again are typically, the biggest issue is a pH balanced issue. I know Dr. Barb just came back from an OBGYN conference, and that was one of the big talks was BV is the most common complaint that they're seeing right now. And outside of prescribing women, antibiotics, which is not truly going to help them, and really harm them over the long run, the issue is really the pH balance. And you can clearly do that topically. So all of our products are pH balanced. So anything that you do every single day with Kushae is allowing you to pH balance, help with the pH balance of your Kushae, so that the rest of your system can kind of focus on some of the other more important things to do, like heart health and brain health and lung health. When you throw the pH off, now your system is having to throw some resources at fixing the Kushae every single day, right? So why not help it do its job? And so that's why pH balance is so critical. So the water is an issue because it's not pH balance optimal for your Kushae. For pH balance 101, the pH scale goes from acidic to basic. 0 to 7 is more acidic. 7 is water, which is neutral. Anything higher than that is more basic or alkaline. And so water is a 7, which means you're not doing anything to help you get to the more acidic range of that between 3 and 3.5 and 5, which is where your Kushae should lie. So water is rinsing your Kushae, which is fine. You might see some evidence of that. The dirt comes off, blah, blah, blah. But you're not assisting with the pH balance. And so you're forcing your body to, again, use those resources to do the job for you when you could easily do it with a pH balanced product. So water is not enough. And I typically ask women, so where else do you just use water? Right? On your hair, on your face, on your body? No. So why is it that this very different and special and vulnerable organ of yours only necessitates water? It boggles me. I'm like, hello, even for your face, you use soap, right? And a different soap at that. Like, you've decided to buy something different for your face, and you've decided to use something different for your scalp, and you've decided to use something different for your body, but your Kushae doesn't get the consideration. Like, it just boggles me. But many women just don't give it any thought. And mostly it's the women who feel like it's self-cleaning. And the answer is yes and no. So the self-cleaning oven is a great, great metaphor, because here's the deal with the self-cleaning oven. The oven has a door and it has the inside that gets hot. Yes, your Kushae is a self-cleaning oven on the inside, but your lips, your vulva, the outer vagina is the door.
Yes. That's the same thing I think.
Right.
I was so curious to see if you repeated my same thing. I was like, we have to understand the difference between the vagina and the vulva.
Right. So the vulva is like the door. When you close that door, are you washing the door? No, the door doesn't get washed on the outside. The inside of the oven gets washed. So that's internal vagina. That outer vagina is the vulva, your 2 sets of lips, anything that grows, hair, the whole 9. That does not get cleaned unless you do it. Not the self-cleaning oven. So again, think about the self-cleaning oven, which is true. Inside gets clean, the door still needs to be Windexed down, my love, right?
And because it has access to the inside of your body, you want to be very careful about what you're putting on there, which is why you want to use a different type of soap than what you might use on your body.
Absolutely, because most things are fragranced and perfumed, and women have gotten so used to perfuming themselves, which is fine, but it should never be on your Kushae, around your Kushae, near the Kushae, close to the Kushae, all that's acceptable. And of course, I say inner thighs, go for it. That way, if somebody's coming in the runway, they get all of that. But it should never give your Kushae a chance to be pH balanced, which then will take care of its own odors, right? It will never be offensive, and it will be pleasant to whoever's looking to get down there,
Yes. So, now, let's talk about Dove. There's so many women that say I only can use Dove. It's the only thing that's pH balanced. That's what my doctor told me to use. Like, you have a background in pharmaceuticals, so I'm sure you kind of understand the way that these things work. But why do so many women think that Dove is the only good option to clean the Kushae?
So I think Dove became, and that's what we hear all the time. We say, what do you use? And Dove is number one. Dove, 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 Dove. And I think it's because people have become complacent around the fact that Dove has a sensitive formula. So in their minds, they're thinking, oh, it's a sensitive formula. Oh, my Kushae is sensitive. I'm going to use it for that. And so far, they haven't experienced significant irritation or anything like that. But the key piece that I'm always asking women, I say, what is in Dove? And they have no idea. And when you compare label to label, Dove actually has ingredients that are part of that dirty dozen that we talked about. It has parabens, specifically in the liquid format. Because remember, parabens, and maybe folks are not aware that parabens are used as a preservative. And so, of course, anything that's sitting on a shelf needs a preservative, or else bacteria would grow and it would be really messy for your Kushae. What we do with Kushae is use natural preservatives that are fruit and vegetable based. And so it's healthy and it's pH balanced and it's okay for your Kushae. But they will break down faster, and that's okay. It just means that Kushae is not going to be sitting on the shelf for 3 to 5 years. Not happening.
Right.
But you're going to let it
Which is probably a good thing.
It's a good thing. Who wants to put a 3-year-old product on their Kushae? Now, mind you, you don't know how long products are sitting on shelves, which is the scary part. But again, that would never be Kushae. But these other manufacturers who are obviously supplying in much larger quantities have to protect the integrity of their product. And the only way they can do that is with synthetic chemicals and preservatives like parabens. But parabens, again, are part of that dirty dozen.
Break it down.
Yes, they have been linked.
This is one of the reasons why indie brands have such better quality products is because they can afford to small batch. And then small batch vendors like Black and Green that were buying in small quantities and numerous times throughout the month, we get either product when it's nice and fresh versus a lot of these big box stores, they're buying products by the ton and it's going to sit there for years possibly as they go through it so they can get the lowest price possible.
Absolutely. So this is why, we've also been very selective about how to move forward with our retail approach, because
that's smart.
We have to be clear that people are just as cognizant about what is good for the Kushae products and what is not so good. Sitting on a shelf for years is not so good. And then again, that's blowback for us, not the store, but for our brand. So we're looking to partner in the future with certainly big names, but it has to be the right partnership, which means they have to be as intent on preserving the integrity of our product as much as we are. So that's going to be important. It's not every store is for everybody. So just another FYI business tip, whatever you want to call it.
That's amazing. That's really amazing.
Exactly. So that's why the Dove piece, I think people have become complacent. Everybody knows Dove. Again, just like Johnson's baby powder, though. It's something that's used in every household. Everybody knows it. But ask yourself, do you know what's in it? And will you turn the bottle around and actually read the ingredients? And when you do, call somebody and tell them, throw this out and start using something like Kushae.
That's it. So thank you so much for joining us, teaching us some new words to use.
Yeah, Kushae. Everybody should be calling it their Kushae. And you know what? Let me just say this. So we usually do a live event every so often. And we go around and play this game called What Do You Call It? And so we go, of course, we call it the Kushae. You know, what do you call it? Girl, when I tell you the names that come out of these women's mouths, I'm like, what are you? We've had Puss Pop. Girl, that was one of the funniest.
Wow.
We've had, of course, at the JJ, we've had Kitty Cat. We've had Mr. Claus. I was like, I don't even want to go there. Like,
right. I don't even know what that means.
You scratching folks. Like, what is really going on? We've had Pup. We've had, Flower, Roses. Now, I will tell you, there's some funny things that happen because we have funny names. And then there are two types of women that kind of sadden me. The women who don't have a name at all. And it just means that there's some sort of shame that has been sort of linked to their Kushae, which they didn't even bother saying. So I go, what did your mother ever call it? And they go, well, other than say anything, just clean yourself. And I was like, that's really, really just a generational curse, and where we're not comfortable with talking to women about their bodies. And then there was one woman who said that her mother used to call it the shame. And I was devastated.
What?
Yes, I was. When I tell you, I almost cried, but I was like, the diva had to bounce back. I was like, okay, girl, but I was devastated for her because it was literally, there was a label, almost like the scarlet, letter that was labeled on her poor Kushae. And I was just like, I don't even know how to me, that's like mental trauma. I don't even know how you get over that.
Yeah. It's not like mental trauma.
It is. And I was so devastated for her. And of course, she's an older woman, and I don't know her very well, but when she said that, not even just one shame, it was two shames. And I was just like, I don't know, that's just not cool. So for those women who don't have a name, call it your Kushae. You can talk about it in the open. You'll never be embarrassed. It's classy, it's refined, but it's you. You know what I mean? So I love it. All of that. I need everybody to be calling it the Kushae by 2020. Let's make it happen.
I like your goals. Way to manifest that and put that out there. Well, we're going to help you get there one step at a time. Thank you so much for being one of our artisans and trusting us to keep your products on our shelves. And if you haven't found the perfect product for your Kushae yet, you have to give it a try. I'm sure you would love it as much as we have.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kristian, for all your work and your vision around Black and Green. We love you guys, and we're so happy to be a part of this entire organization, your mission, and everything.
Oh, thank you so much, Kimba.
No worries. Thanks again.
Thank you for tuning into the Black and Green Podcast. Did you have more questions for our special guest? Please leave your questions in the comment section. Also, check us out at BLK GRN.com. Please subscribe and comment. We love hearing from you. Until next time, buy Black and live green.